This is the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson. You know, in the past, I've actually talked about how bad things can be if you have a continued conflict in Syria, particularly if chemical and biological weapons are deployed by the Syrian government of Assad, and this causes Western nations to enter the fray to stop a wholesale slaughter. You also now have a heightened element of risk because if you look at the recent moves that have been uncovered by the United States and its allies, you will now know that Iran has been shipping arms to the Syrians. And Iran is clearly on the radar screen for a military attack by the Israelis over their nuclear program. It just seems to me that a perfect storm is developing, and a perfect storm that is going to absolutely raise the political risk of any person who drives a car or uses petroleum products for anything. When and if there is a conflict in the Middle East involving Iran and Israel that may inevitably suck in Turkey and Syria, you're going to see a large spike in oil prices. This is going to impact people in the United States substantially, given that gasoline, at least here on the East Coast, in the past weeks has been hovering around $4 a gallon. This is a short-term political risk. It's one you have to grin and bear. The overall long-term political risk is what is the aftermath of these attacks on each other by these countries. Also, whether or not Western nations such as the United States are going to have to put boots on the ground in such a conflict. As I've discussed previously, the one situation where I can see that the United States would get involved, and I absolutely would support this and feel this would be the right thing to do, is if the Syrians start deploying chemical and biological weapons. You can't allow this to happen under any circumstance, and you cannot punish the people who do this enough. They must be stopped. It must be nipped in the bud. This can never, ever be a option for anybody, particularly a dictator. And the cost of yet another war, the cost in lives, the cost in fuel and food and everything possible that you could think of is going to be enormous for that region. It will impact us in many, many different ways, whether or not the United States puts boots on the ground or not. But if you take the United States out of this as an actual combatant, it is very, very wise to start looking at all of your foreign direct investments in the Middle East, particularly in Turkey. You're going to have a situation potentially where there's going to be a conflict. The Strait of Hormuz may be closed for a short period of time. The cost of petroleum products is going to go through the roof. Transportation is going to be slowed, if not completely stopped. You're going to have delays in supply chains because of the conflict. There are a lot of things that are going to spring from this. It all hinges on whether or not Iran is going to eventually give in to the demands of Western nations and get rid of their nuclear program, or whether or not the Israeli government is going to make a strike, which some would say is preemptive, to destroy that program before a missile is developed or launched upon Israel. The one issue that must be remembered is that if the Israelis attack the Iranians, there's going to be a conflict. So either way, you may be going down that road. There's no certainty in life, but you've got more certainty of a problem developing between now and the end of the year in the Middle East that's going to directly impact foreign direct investment and business ventures in the Middle East by American firms and investors than you have had in quite some time. And because the heightened tension is so palpable and so possible, that it is very, very wise to re-examine all foreign direct investment, business ventures, and issues that pertain to American investment in the Middle East between now and the end of the year. As a matter of fact, I would do it today. And let's hope that nothing happens, but you can never just put hope and money in the same sentence because they really don't go together. They really don't work hand in hand. And the reason they never work hand in hand is because you also have to have people involved to provide a resource with that money that creates and harbors hope. And unfortunately, the people involved in these countries that may end up in these conflicts, for right or for wrong, I'm not judging anybody, but for right or for wrong, are fairly dug in as far as their positions. And once you have people dug in positions that are probably going to lead to conflict of some sort, the amount of hope is greatly diminished, and the amount of money having to be spent by everybody that is affected by this is greatly increased. Hope and money don't go together when you're talking about a situation that is now developing in the Middle East between Iran, Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, and all the countries in that region. Hope for the best, but plan for impacts to foreign direct investment, business ventures, and your everyday living expenses. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.